This is Suit Up Sports.
Suit Up Sports.
Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome back to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout along with Frank Garcia.
I mean, it's been so hot outside that, I cramped up like in a full body cramp playing golf on Monday. And I tell you, I haven't done that, I don't think, ever. I used to cramp up, pretty bad, playing in the NFL. And I know that training camp is right around the corner for these guys. But I hope they're taking their salt tablets, eating their watermelon. They're putting their salt on the watermelon. There's all sorts of
bananas,
tricks.
all the
bananas, all the
juice.
potassium, pickle juice. So funny you say that. I was talking about how I was cramping up, and somebody asked me, I was like, well, did you drink pickle juice? I was like, how in the heck am I going to know how to drink pickle juice on a golf course? And they said, wouldn't it be a great idea if the cart girls carried around pickle juice? I said, okay, yeah, that might be the case. But first off, I'm an expert cramper, and I would never know to take pickle juice. I didn't realize
You've never heard that?
I've never heard that pickle juice is a great cure for, for cramps.
Yeah, I've had teams where we'd have a jar of it, and if you look at like a lot of college football, like Florida Gators who created pickle juice. And
why the hell did you have Gatorade? I was drinking Gatorade
probably some people probably don't like pickle juice. I don't know, but and I love pickles and I don't mind pickle juice, but I'm not going to chug a jar of pickle juice like I would Gatorade.
Yeah,
but I'll do a pickle back after a shot of bourbon, which is pickle juice. Have you ever done that?
I've heard. What's it called?
Jameson.
A pickleback. A pickleback. Yeah, I've heard of a pickleback.
Yeah, where you do shot of Jameson, and then you do a shot of the pickle juice.
Gosh, I don't know if I've ever tried that. I'm just not a big fan of pickle juice.
Well, Harris, I know the Harris Teeter, they actually sell, and I'm guessing it's Mount Olive. It's one of the pickle brands. I forget which one, but you can buy now. You can buy the little like 5-hour energy size bottles. Pickle juice. Yeah. To
prevent cramping.
Mm-hmm. Or picklebacks. I'm sure it's a mixed deal, but yeah, but cramping. If I wake up in the morning and I feel dehydrated, I go right downstairs and I chug a bunch of pickle juice.
I would have never known pickle juice. I've heard of bananas. I've taken bananas.
Yep.
I put salt on my watermelon. I've taken potassium pills.
Yep.
The best thing that I ever took was Pedialyte. Mm-hmm. Pedialyte put it back in me once I cramped, but I would lose 10 pounds in training camp every practice, and they weigh you in and they weigh you out. And if you're not eating healthy, the first thing to stop cramps is like you have to eat right the night before, right? Yep. Or else all the proteins and things like that go right out of your body a lot quicker, and you cramp a lot easier. I've always been prone to cramping, and I it's funny is that one of the interviews I did before the tournament, I played in the golf tournament on Monday. I said, what's your goal today? I said, not to cramp up.
You jinxed yourself.
Damn it.
You jinxed yourself.
If I jinxed myself and I went out there on the 16th hole and cramped up, and I've never felt anything like that. My legs are still sore because of it. So I'm hoping that these guys, at least because I know that Spartanburg is a whole different type of hot, and that's where these guys are going to be. So goodness gracious.
And they start a week from this coming Monday, and we'll talk about that because I do want to get some your thoughts on training camp with the Panthers. But I got to tell you see how hot it was. I had to get up this morning and bring our puppy, who she's now 10 months old, to get spayed. And they want Bella, yeah. So we had to wait until they wanted us to wait until 10 or 11 month time. So we did. And so I get up at 7 and I get her in my truck. And even at 7, and it was overcast, it was still sticky. It wasn't as hot, but it was sticky. Take her to the vet, drop her off, and she wasn't happy about it. Then I have to go to a dermatology appointment right after that. I go to that, and I get home and I'm in meetings all day, and the vet calls my wife and leaves a message while we're on a meeting, and it said, hey, we're in the middle of surgery and Bella's doing fine. However, if you could give me a call, there's something interesting about her anatomy, and I want to tell you about it. We could do it after the surgery or now. So we get.
You have a trans dog or something?
So
what?
So listen,
come on.
So my wife, after we get off the call, I come upstairs and I'm doing some work, and my wife was on the phone with the vet. So I called downstairs because I was too lazy to walk downstairs. And I said, what did the vet say? Or excuse me, I text her first, and she texted me back saying, Bella is a hermaphrodite. And I went, what? So I call her now. I'm like, what do you mean she's a hermaphrodite? And she goes, yeah, the vet says she's only seen it twice in her career. But that when they went in to take out her
$100 right now, I know which way the vet votes.
Well, I know this. Bella had
no way.
She had an ovary and one testicle. And so they're sending it off to labs, and did
you ask for like evidence?
I don't want to see it. I mean, heck, I've got 2 boy dogs, so whenever I would accidentally call her a boy, I guess I was not messing up. Now I don't know what she's still a girl to me. She's got, she's still a girl.
Can she get pregnant?
Well, not anymore.
Well, I mean,
I mean, and I don't know if she could.
So did she have to get spayed and neutered?
That I guess, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hope they don't double charge me. I'm sitting here thinking, are they going to double charge me because they had to take out both? But they're sending it off to the lab. They said she's fine, and they said that I guess in a couple months we'll have to send or have her get tested for hormones and make sure they're all level. But yeah, I mean, I'm worried about are they going to double charge me. Like, I didn't know that. Or why not call me? What if I just said, well, leave that in and take that out?
So, so my question, I guess, I have a million questions right now.
Me too.
I like, what do we call her girl? Do we call her boy?
Well,
are we going to offend her?
She's still my. Well, she's tough, so she's still my little girl dog. But yeah,
sure? Maybe she wants to be recognized as a boy dog.
I know you might be right.
Where can she go to the bathroom? Which side?
She uses the bathroom like a girl, so we're going to stick with that. But yes, so that was one of the craziest text messages.
What if there's other girl dogs and she walks into the bathroom with the girl?
Well, we do have male and female bathrooms. Yeah. So she's going to have to stick with the female bathroom. But anyway,
there's so many questions.
Oh my God, crazy morning.
Is this real? Are you
swear to God. Ask Dylan. Ask Big D over there. Big Dylan. They're going to go pick her up here shortly. So hopefully she'll have that cone on her head. Is she going to
be wearing pink or is she wearing blue?
Pink. Maybe.
So you want her to be a girl?
Oh, she's a girl. She's definitely a girl.
No, they said she's a boy.
No, they said she had both.
Okay. So why is she just a girl?
Because she has like 8 nipples, like a female dog. I
have 2. You have 2.
We don't have 8.
No, but
neither does a girl either, I guess. I don't know. It's very confusing in this day and age. I don't know. But her name's still Bella. She's a girl.
Does she produce milk?
Not anymore. And she never
did.
I don't know. These are questions that I never even thought I'd ever think. I never had a girl dog, by the way, either. This is my first female dog. I've had dogs my whole life. I never had a female except for one time, but it was an older dog.
Well, you still don't.
Yeah, that's true. Now I gotta go get another puppy.
Yeah, you have to go get another puppy.
You just gave me permission. Now I'm gonna go get another dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
You gonna check and make sure that this one's female this time?
I don't know. I don't know if there's maybe I have the
when you register, what do you have to go back?
With our male dogs, we would always get them spayed right away because we rescue all of our dogs. So they're always spayed right away. But with a female, they said to prevent cancer and for all these reasons, it's better to wait. And so we waited, and so I don't even know how we would find out. But
you have to go change her certificate.
And I ain't changing anything. I'm not changing. Me going to get her is a whole different story too, where I got her from and all that.
Are you going to feel differently about her?
No, heck no.
She's still going to be.
I wonder if she's going to feel different towards me. She might not be my baby girl anymore.
She's going to be looking at you.
She'll be like, "What are you looking at? Why you keep calling me little girl? Why can't you call me baby girl?"
She just learns. What if she heard all of this?
I don't know. She's under anesthesia right now, so hopefully she's dreaming about.
Maybe she's going to think that wake up and this is a bad dream.
What'll be interesting is my male dog Gunner, who's great dog. They're thick as thieves. So what if Gunner now doesn't like her anymore? What if he just shows away? No, get away.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Or what if she gets more feisty? I don't know. I know we just talked about that for about 10 minutes. Didn't plan to, but that was how my morning went. Let's get to training camp real quick.
Yeah, before we get in trouble.
Yeah, and the Panthers, like we said, start a week from this Monday. The rookies report, and then the vets right after that the next day. And it is hot. And you were part of the first Panthers team, so you firsthand. I think you had 4 or 5 training camps with the Panthers.
Oh, DJ, I had 6. We had 6, 6 training camps in Spartanburg, and I can remember the first one because we were a expansion franchise, and things were a lot different back then than they are now. We have a lot more information. They have a lot more rules. Training camp was probably the thing that takes the life off of most players because of how difficult and challenging it is. It's the games and when you play during the games and practice during the season, that's got a lot lighter. That wasn't nearly as rough as training camp because training camp is where you basically, you take the body blows to be able to endure the beating that you're going to take during the season. Because if you didn't, imagine being a boxer, heavyweight boxing, fighting for a championship and having to go out to a 12-round fight, not having done any training.
Yeah.
Right. That's where you build your muscles. It's, the Rocky, the whole
where you get your body ready for
Apollo
it,
3, where they all train, to get your body right to be able to do those things. And in Spartanburg, South Carolina, might be the devil's playground because it sits in a little bowl and the heat just rises up from that ground like it is it's business. And I remember the first year that I went down there, and we have an extra week of training camp. So this is July 9th, July 10th. We would be starting training camp probably either tomorrow or the next day. We started a week earlier than they normally do because we had the extra game in the preseason, the Hall of Fame game. I'm not even sure if they still have that, but they've gone to three preseason games now. We had 5.
Yeah.
For the all the training up to that, all the pre-training camps and the OTAs and things like that, we got extra time. And that sounds like, oh, what a great deal. But no, for us as players, it's like, that's just more wear and tear on our body. It was football for the entire year, and might have helped us, the first couple of years win a little bit more games. But I remember the heat and guys passing out and the cramps. It would get so hot out there, DJ, that you walk out there with dry shoes on. By the time you get to the stretch line and get everything kind of coordinated, and your body right, your mind right, my feet are already like swamp feet because I'm sweating so much. You have to wear 2 pairs of socks, and that's the hard part, is keeping your body from just breaking down. And you don't think about your feet, how important that is, especially when you're pushing, against other 300-pound men, and you're running and you're driving and you're cutting and all the things that are with that. And your feet are so soaked.
And did you wear pads for butt? Because you would have 2-a-days on a lot of those days, and now they don't let you do that.
We had 3-a-days.
Oh my goodness.
We would get out first thing in the morning. We would have lunch. We would go back. We'd have a meeting. We'd come back for a walkthrough in the middle of the afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, right after lunch, for special teams walkthroughs on the field.
Yeah.
And then we'd go back. You'd have like an hour or 2 to yourself, and then you'd have dinner, and then you'd go out again for a night practice.
All in pads?
Not all of it. The walkthroughs was not in pads.
Yeah.
That was the only thing. But there would be days where the mandates through the NFL, depending on what the collective bargaining agreement said, you could only have X amount of pads, and you had to basically crawl, walk, run. You could slowly crawl into that. So the first couple days that we were out there, we were just in nothing but shells and shorts.
Yep.
And shells was like we'd wear these little cushion pads in our helmets. But hell, I mean, the tempo was still 100 miles an hour. So I hated the shells because I'd get other people's helmets in my shoulders. Yeah. Other people are with the pads. With the pads, at least you're protected. But the heat and the heaviness and the weight of it, is the thing that slowed guys down and really, drained all the liquids out of you. But and having it 3 times a day. So if you weren't prepared for that, did you come into camp in shape? So I knew where I was coming to. I knew Spartanburg was going to be hot, and I knew that my first time, I learned a lot in about 6 years. Yeah. When I went to Washington my first year, coming from high school, I was not in shape. I thought I had to gain weight. I thought I had to put some muscle on, and I didn't understand the conditioning that is involved with being a collegiate athlete. And we had to run the mile under a certain amount of time. And then we had to run, it was called a Springfield test, which is 1400s. And we had to do it under an X amount of time. Well, they do the same type of thing in the NFL, where they do either the gassers, you do 5 gassers or 6 gassers under whatever your time is for your position group, or you have to do 40s. And what they would do is they take your best 40, and you had to come underneath those 40s on an average. You had to finish before those, and you had to walk back, and it was like a little time start. So I knew from college that I didn't want to do that and be in that position. And on top of that, now they're paying me. Yeah. So you're fighting for a job, because you don't know if you're going to make. I mean, even though you were a 4th round pick, you're still fighting for. I'm still fighting for. I'm trying to impress, not to just show up and make it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to do everything. So I came in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
I ran my ass off during the summer. I prepared. I was ready to go. And we didn't have as much technology and information back then as they do now. We didn't have personal trainers. We didn't have dietitians. We didn't have, all the things that they have available to them now. We went out there and just did it on our own, right? And you found a couple of guys, you say, hey, let's go run. And you try to do it in the middle of the day so you could get accustomed to the heat and go out there and do that. So, that was the one thing for me that I prided myself on was I may not be the biggest guy. I may not be the fastest guy. I was definitely one of the strongest guys in at my position group in the NFL. But the one thing that nobody was going to do is they never were going to outwork me. So I had to make sure as an ex-wrestler, right, that I knew how to train in order to win a state championship, for several years, that I had to be in better shape than I was when I was in wrestling so that I could go out there and dominate in the fourth quarter, in the third quarter, and in those practices where everybody else is dragging. That's where I'm starting to excel. And that's the reason why I earned myself a starting job my rookie season was because of those things. So these players today,
you don't hear many stories anymore about a player coming in out of shape because you're right. They've got off-season programs. They have off-season trainers and supplements. And you're right. It's more of a science now.
It's more of a science.
So when you do hear a player come in that's not in shape, it makes them look really bad because they have all the money in the world and all the things at their fingertips. If they're not taking advantage of that, it makes you question.
I ripped guys. I remember Albert Hainsworth. If you remember him,
defensive tackle.
The defensive tackle from Tennessee, played in Tennessee, was a great defensive player. Big physical guy. But I remember one offseason, he came in off shape, and I had already retired. It was like 2006 or whatever it was, and he was towards the end. But I said, that guy doesn't care about his job. He doesn't care about his profession. He's not a professional. I was no longer an amateur player. I was a professional. If I care about my profession, I need to go out there and be able to be in shape at least, to show these coaches that I care. Right. So that's, I think, I think that those days are far and few between. Guys not showing up out of shape. And, a lot of these guys, they can pass their test during the off-season programs and things like that because coaches now have a little bit more ability to put their hands on you and have, control with these things. And, they're going to, mandate these things a little bit more and kind of keep those things where they're watching you.
And also, I think players from a young age now are doing this type of training. They've got all these different training places that, I remember when Dylan was a very good baseball player, and I had him in these training things where we'd go 2 or 3 times a week and they'd have him running with the parachute behind him and doing all this. So, I think kids are used to working out like that at a much younger age. So it doesn't come as a shock to them like it would.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example of bodies, right? And a 330-pound body back when I was playing wasn't put together. It was a little sloppy. Right. You had, man boobs, and you had fat around your thighs. You were out of shape if you weighed 330 and you weren't just that. Nowadays, guys like Lane Johnson.
Oh man.
The guy, if you've seen the guy without his pads on, he looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, you don't see the real
330 pounds.
Yeah, you're right, man.
320 pounds.
You're totally right.
The body types have changed significantly. We're talking about 30 years now since when I came to where we are now on what the athlete looks like. They're taller, they're faster, but they're heavier, and they're putting more pressure on their joints and knees and bodies and things like that because of how much they've conditioned and trained and how much they're able to stress their joints and ligaments so that they go out there and are playing at their maximum peak performance.
Well, it's a huge training camp for the Panthers this year, obviously, and we're going to talk to James Plowright in a little while on the show about the Hornets and their summer league that starts tomorrow because it's a huge summer league for them as well. But with the Panthers, it's a huge camp. Number one, it's the most stability they've had in a long time. They've got the same head coach. They've got the same coordinators. They've got the same quarterback. They've got a lot of the same, glue from the same offensive line from last year. So it's the most stable they've been in quite some time.
The first time, I think, is what you're trying to say is that we've had an ability to understand where they're building from.
Exactly.
They have a base. I always use this team, and when we talked about them in the last 2-3 years, there's no foundation. There was no foundation with his team. And Dan Morgan, when he came in as GM, recognized that and started building and breaking down everything else, tearing down the house and starting with the foundation.
Yep.
And they now have a foundation, like you said, with the offensive line where you have 5 guys that are returning. And how important is that for an offense? It's incredibly important.
No doubt.
Because of the communication that it needs to exist when you get into a hostile environment on the road where you can run the ball, because I don't have to worry about physically telling you, verbally telling you, I know that you, because you played next to me, we've seen this look before, that I can grunt a certain way, or I can
body
tap
language,
my head, or I just can trust that I know you're going to be where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
And that's huge for, a building block in the right direction for a team.
Yeah. And listen, everybody knows the Panthers are going to go as Bryce Young goes and finish the season great. This offseason, everything's been great. But for a quarterback to come in, having that glue at the offensive line, having the same running back, they added running back, but the same coaching in particular.
Yeah, but in the running game in particular, DJ, because listen, I mean, it's the one position that I'm playing where I think my running back is supposed to be here. And if you and I are working together to double team or to combo block to a guy and the defense is reacting a certain way, I'm going to see that. You're going to see that. But most importantly, the running back is going to see the same thing that we're seeing.
Yep.
So the holes are now going to be a little bit. Emmitt Smith taught me so much, when he came from the Dallas Cowboys to the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
And he sat down and watched film with us, every offseason. We only were there 2 seasons, but the one offseason he did, he said, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm expecting. So listening to him speak, understanding what our responsibilities were, we could all see and visualize the same thing when we saw it in real life.
Isn't that weird that you played in the NFL for 10 years and no other running back or anyone gave you that perspective until that point in your career?
Well, he was a running back. And I played with Martin. And listen, Marshall Faulk is the smartest guy, as smartest player you're ever going to find. He understood the passing game as well as anybody. He could have played quarterback if he wanted to. He could have played offensive line. He understood every position and what was expected, right? But there are some teams that you play on that just the coaching and the direction was so good, running backs didn't have to come in and be able to see those things. It was a standard that was already built. Right. With the Arizona Cardinals, with Emmitt Smith coming in, he was new, which he hadn't worked with us. So that was new. It's like a quarterback finding a rookie receiver and come in and say, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm expecting. When you hit that 10-step ball's coming, you better turn your head because it's going to be on you. Right. Same type of thing with a new running back. Marshall had already established that when I played with him with the Rams. I came in new and had to catch up.
Gotcha.
Emmitt came in new to this unit and had to catch up so that we could see the same thing he was. And that's the reason why. So it just happens at a different level for different teams. For Chuba Hubbard and the Carolina Panthers, the good news is that they've had 2 or 3 years together now. So those types of conversations have already happened. But that's going to make that running game so much more efficient. And the reason why he's going to have more success is because he can trust and count on those offensive linemen doing exactly where they're going to be and doing exactly what they're going to do and being where they're supposed to be.
And, they added Dowdle, the running back from the Cowboys. So, Panthers have 2,000-yard rushers in the backfield. And like we said, continuity on offense for the first time in forever. Defense, we've talked about, which they brought in a ton of new players through free agency, the draft. We're curious to see who's going to be the linebackers that maybe, and, I thought when we interviewed Brenson Buckner last week, which, thank everyone for looking at that. People have loved that interview, and thank you guys for downloading it. Buck's great, and we'll have him on again soon. But when we talked to him about the linebackers, I thought, the way he kind of broke it down was pretty interesting about how, every team has to have a guy or two that comes out of nowhere, and that with the defensive line, which should be much better this year, keeping those offensive linemen off our backers, that it just takes 1 or 2 guys to come out of nowhere that can fly around and make plays. And hopefully they've got that.
That's a very fair point from Buck, right? And, even guys in the NBA, right? When you have a superstar and he's the guy that's supposed to be the ball dominant guy. There's a lot of Con Knippel's a good example of this. When you have Cooper Flagg, the ball's going to go through Cooper Flagg. But when Cooper Flagg goes down, Con Knippel is very capable of stepping up and being almost as good as Cooper Flagg. He's just not Cooper Flagg, right?
Yep.
But there's a lot of guys capable. You see that with the 6 men in the NBA a lot, right? They come. James Harden was another example when he was OKC, right? He wasn't asked to be a Westbrook or a Durant, or one of those guys. His job was a role to come off that bench and score. But he's very capable of taking over a game at any given time. For these linebackers, I hope that we have one of those type of guys that are sitting a Will Witherspoon.
Yeah.
If a Mark Fields goes down, or a John Beeson, if somebody comes in. Beeson was a first rounder, so that's probably not a great example. But one of these other guys that maybe wasn't highly touted but is ready.
Yep.
And all he needed was an opportunity to go play football without having to think and not having to do a job, because he trusts that those guys up front are going to be able to hold the point. He just go play football.
Yeah, and Trevon Wallace is a guy that I'm excited to see. I mean, he was a rookie out of Kentucky last year, 3rd-round pick, had to step into Shaq's shoes pretty quick into the season, had a solid rookie year for no question, speed, a lot of talent, and I'm hoping that he's a guy that maybe now, having a better defensive line in front of him, can really elevate to be that guy. Time will tell.
I hope that we have those guys too. I hope we have the next London Fletcher on this football team, right? Or you put some guys up in front and let him go play. A guy from Steve Carroll University worked himself into a Hall of Fame career. If you look at his numbers, they're as good as anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he was an Iron Man.
Played a long time,
He played
too.
14, 15 years, didn't miss a game.
Yep.
At 5'11", 230 pounds.
Yep.
And I hope we find a guy on this roster that has that type of character, that type of work ethic, that type of, ability to go out there and make those plays, because I do feel like for the first time in a long time, the guys up front are going to be able to hold the point like Brenson Buckner and the guys Maki Kimiwatu and Al Rucker and Mike Rucker and Chris Jenkins, Al Wallace. I say Al Rucker. I've combined Al Wallace and Mike Rucker. Sorry, Al. Those guys are going to be able to hold the point so that those linebackers can make plays.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, and obviously next week, or a week from Monday when it kicks off, we'll do a breakdown and keep you up to speed with everything going on. I mentioned Hornets start Summer League tomorrow night. We will have James Plowright, who's from BuzzBeat Podcast and CharlotteCulture.org. He's going to join us next segment to talk about Summer League. But obviously, you and I are excited to see Con Knippel play, right? Everyone's going to be excited to see your first pick, right? That's your new shiny toy, and everyone's going to be excited to see him play.
I'm excited. What I'm excited to see is what you're saying is that, more off the point, I want to see if he can be the leader of a team and take some shine off of LaMelo. I don't think he's going to be a LaMelo type player, but are guys going to rally around him, and can he be that alpha that is the leader that everybody says, hey, listen, he's the first to the gym. He's a very mature guy. He says the right things, but he's only a rookie. And that's going to be the challenge, right? So I'm not sure who that guy is going to be on this roster, but it's great to see that both the Panthers and the Hornets paralleling in the upward direction at the same time.
Yeah, this is the first time in a long time that at this point in the year, mid-July, we can sit here, and not that we don't have hope. I mean, listen, we always have optimism and hope. That's what they always say. Every team's 0-0 right now. But being objective and looking at the Hornets and the Panthers, and particularly, they do appear for the first time to both be on the right track. We've seen so many coaching changes and GM changes and whiffs on draft choices and all these things that have happened over the years. And now we've seen some continuity. We've seen no coach got fired.
We don't
no
know.
GM.
We don't know if we've seen the continuity, but at least we're pulling in the right direction. Right. We'll see the continuity on the basketball court if it exists or not, but at least they have an identity. Right. And I think that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to, is that if that identity that we've been building on paper comes to fruition as they play the game on the court.
Well, and tomorrow night they open up with Utah Utah Jazz, which has Ace Bailey, who is, a guy that a lot of people had the Hornets taking, and they took Knipple instead. And they also have Walter Clayton Jr., who I know you and I loved watching him play during the NCAA tournament at Florida when he led his team to a national championship. He had 20 points, I think, in the first half the other night. And again, it is the summer league. It isn't like they're playing the best defense.
Is the summer league the equivalent of preseason games in the NBA, in the NFL?
Except for the fact that these kids are all like your rookie year for the Panthers. A lot of these kids are fighting for a job. Now Con Knipple's not, and he just got paid. And some of the other, Liam McNeely is a first-round pick. But everyone else, they're out there to prove. And, there's a lot of guys on the, P.J. Hall, for instance, a kid out of Clemson, he's out there. He's going to bust his butt. So you do have a good mixture of guys, and then, look, Ace Bailey, who, his whole ordeal during the draft, after the draft, didn't report to Utah right away.
Let me make the comparison. You're seeing these guys, all these guys, I could make the same argument in the NFL. Those young guys are still busting their butt in the preseason because they have to. They're not taking it easy. The only guys that aren't really busting their butt are the starters. Everybody else is going out there and playing as hard as they can. So the third and the fourth quarter is really going to be the equivalent to what you're seeing out there in the G League.
But the
Summer League.
But in the Summer League, the only difference is there's no veterans there. So Salon from the Hornets and KJ Simpson, who both played last year mainly in the G League, they're certainly not vets of the NBA. So Salon, who we'll talk about with James Plowright, was a 6th pick last year. He was the youngest guy in the NBA last year. So you don't have the veterans that you're talking about in these other things. These are all young rookies.
So you're going to see the equivalent guys of what you see in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah,
in the NFL.
Exactly. 100%. So I'm excited about it, and we're going to talk to James Plowright again. He's a great guy when it comes to the Hornets, man. He can talk. He's from Manchester, so it's not often we talk NBA with somebody with.
I think he's actually coming live from Manchester, so. It'll be interesting to see what the time change is. I think Wimbledon's going on over there. He might talk a little Wimbledon with us.
Yeah, he was there the other day too, so we'll definitely ask him about that. But James will join us right after this. Today's show brought to you by Neogenics. Frank and I are both very familiar with neogenic stem cells. If you're not, you can check out more on neogenicstemcells.com. You can call them at 704-727-6551. That's 704-727-6551. Frank and I both have been patients at Neogenics for years, as well as Thomas Davis and Harold Varner and Matt Doherty, and we can name all the athletes and non-athletes that have gone there. I know I've had my family go there. You've had your family go there. But if you have aching joint pain, your neck, your back, your elbows, your shoulder, Frank's had your back done.
I've had my
there.
back and my neck, and I tell you, for anything arthritic that you feel as a weekend warrior, they're going to be able to help you out. And the best thing about what they do at Neogenics is they're not going to give you the runaround. They're going to let you know if they can help you.
Yep.
Or if they can't. They're not going to try to just fluff something so that they can make money.
Yep.
That's the thing I really appreciate about Nico and his team.
Yep.
Is that they build championships, and they build them through honesty and integrity and hard work and commitment and all the things that we use in sports world and on these shows. They do it every day at Neogenics.
They do, and some of the competition in that field do not do it that way. And Neogenics, you're right. If they don't think they can help you, they're not going to take your money. They're going to be honest with you. I've had my elbow done there. I had a shoulder that was aching. Couldn't lift weights or play golf for probably 6 months. Went in there. They did their magic with stem cells and PRP, and within maybe 5 weeks, I was back at it. I watched them do your procedure on your back, and Frank's back had been, jacked up for years and years from playing in the NFL so many years. So any aching joint pain, they've got you. Neogenicstemcells.com, 704-727-6551.
Check them out today.
Tell them DJ and Frank sent you. Welcome back to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with 10-year NFL vet Frank Garcia. And joining us now from Manchester, over the pond, James Plowright from BuzzBeat Podcast, as well as charlotteculture.org. James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for joining us, man. We're as I know you are, we're excited that the Hornets get finally their first game of Summer League tomorrow after what's been an interesting and fun offseason when you have the draft and then some of the free agency signings and trades that they've made. So we wanted to get you on and really kind of break down what you're looking for during Summer League and what we're kind of looking for. First question, and I think Frank's probably going to ask you, is did you grow up in Manchester? Like, how are you such a big Hornets fan to the point where you ended up covering them living over there?
Yeah, so I grew up in Manchester. My tie to the Charlotte Hornets is a very loose one. My grandma lives in Montgomery, Alabama. And when I went over as a kid, I was probably at 50 and I started playing basketball in school. I wanted to buy a jersey. And I went into a Reebok store at the time, who was, I think, the official supplier to the NBA. And there were two jerseys, a LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers jersey, or an Adam Morrison Charlotte Bobcats jersey.
Well, I still think you made the right choice because I can't stand LeBron and neither can Frank. And even though Adam Morrison didn't pan out, but I still think you made the right choice.
So that was how I started following the team.
That's awesome.
So are you a big soccer fan?
I am.
Football
I live
fan.
about 2 miles from Man United Stadium, so I'm a Red.
Wow. Okay. Nice. I actually picked up a lot of my buddies follow the Premier League and Champions League and all that. And I played soccer my whole life and in college. And I picked a team this year. They said, you got to pick a team to follow. So I went with Aston Villa after doing my research and it was fun. I actually enjoyed watching the games and all the banter between me and my buddies. Well, let's jump into Summer League here. I mentioned the Hornets have had quite an offseason so far. Something that they haven't had in a long time, right? So, with surprising free agent signings and trades, and then the draft where, the draft night trade, and then 4 rookies that'll be coming in to Summer League. Obviously, Con Knippel's the guy that everybody can't wait to see, and we'll kind of push him to the back for the moment because I wanted to know, minus him, who are you really excited to watch play tomorrow?
Tidjane Salaün for me is the name that has to be at the top of everyone's list. 6th pick in last year's draft, was the youngest player in the NBA on a full contract last year, so practically a baby in the NBA terms. And he looked like that out in the court, to be frank. Okay, it was difficult at times, and I think he got forced into playing time more than people were expecting due to injuries. But from all accounts, he's had a really good season. I mean, you can see already just in the photos, like he's finally growing into his frame. He's 6'2", 7'2" wingspan, but didn't really play like it last year. And I think for him, the game, we want to see it slowing down a little bit. It definitely got sped up at times, looked like his mind was going a million miles per hour. And then also just you want to see him have more improved coordination, better communication across the court. With Summer League, I throw all the numbers, the shooting percentages away. I mean, these are like 4 or 5 games of teams that are put together for a week. But really, it's the eye test is what we're looking for here. So I think for me, like, we need to figure out, is Salaün a guy who's, on a upward trajectory of improvement at a fast rate, or is he just kind of look the same as last year? And that would be a concern if it is. Even with him being a young player, when you pick a guy 6th, you expect to see some development going into year 2.
No doubt.
We look at this team and we see all the young talent and the stars that they may have, and we hope that they can come to fruition and be the players we expect them to be. But you look at OKC, you look at Indiana, you look at Denver, and even the Boston Celtics. I know that the Tatum injury is going to slow them down, but the top 4 or 5 teams in the league, how far talent-wise are the Hornets away from those teams? And at least it feels like for us is that they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, they're quite far behind those teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlotte haven't had an all-star player here in over 2+ seasons. Now that's, some would say, down to injuries, but all those teams, have got Nikola Jokic, top 3 player in the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum. They've got perennial first-team All-NBA talent that it doesn't matter what you kind of do around the edges, things can change. They're going to have talent there, but they've also got great, number 2s, Jaylen Brown in Boston, Jalen Williams, Jamal Murray. The Hornets don't have anyone who's probably even on the level of some of those like second best players right now. And especially when they've not been available. So I think the Hornets have more talent on paper than a lot of teams probably think. But when it's not on the court playing together, they're not building those reps. They're not getting the time on the court to actually develop and improve. They're not learning all these nuances to the NBA game. And that's really stalled this Hornets team for the last basically 2.5 seasons now, where they've just not been able to put things together. So there are talent, there is upside, but there are huge question marks around availability, and that is the biggest question.
Well, I think the biggest thing, the elephant in the room that we're talking about, speaking of, is LaMelo Ball. I mean, we look at him and we say, gosh, when he's on the court and he's playing well, this team is talented. But the question for me, I have is behind the scenes, off the not during the game, but during the development. Is he going to drive these guys to get his team better? Because it doesn't even feel like, even though he's the best player, he's not the best leader.
I completely agree with you. I don't. The answer, I think, is no. I don't think we're going to see LaMelo Ball emerge into this alpha leader. I'm going to bring all my guys together, get people up together in the offseason. I'm going to hold people accountable. I'm going to show people how to play defense and I'll inspire them. I don't think that's how he's wired. He's kind of a bit of a goofball. And I mean that in a loving way. I don't mean that in an insulting way. I think no teammate has ever said a bad word about LaMelo. I think he's a lot of fun to be around. He brings a positive energy to the group. And teams need those personalities. They also need the serious guys who tell people, hey, it's time to work. Hey, like, we're not allowing what happened last week or in that last game to happen again. And I just don't think that's him. And I don't think it's, at this point, going into year 5 or 6, whatever it is, I don't expect to see it. There's been not enough evidence off the court. I think Miles Bridges even said last year, like, he's trying to almost like push LaMelo Ball to be the leader, trying to encourage him. Because Miles knows, like, this team, the way the NBA works, when your best player is your best leader, that just is a formula that we see work time and time again. And the minute it's like Grant Williams, he's doing it from the bench. You got Miles Bridges, who's doing it with his own, off the court challenges in the past. So I definitely think it's a fair question and criticism. And for me, LaMelo is best suited as that number 2, like a guy who can distribute, get others involved. But you need that number 1, the alpha. And I don't think it's going to be Con Knipple. The guy who's got maybe a chance is probably Brandon Miller. Mm-hmm. But if I'm being honest, I don't think that number 1 is probably on the roster. And that's partly down to lottery luck, right? If they'd won the draft this year, it would have been Cooper Flagg. If it'd been the year, it would have been Victor Wembanyama. They've just not got lucky like some other teams have. And that's the risk you play when you try and rebuild through the lottery.
It's funny you say that because, I grew up in Charlotte. And this is the first year that, we've talked about, this is the first year that I didn't go to Hornet games. And it was because there's nothing about the team that struck a chord with me. Their best players never played. Melo never plays. Brandon Miller, even though the wrist injury was legit and all that, he would miss games for, getting banged up here and there. And I just felt that if I want to go watch a G League game, I'll go to Greensboro. So I didn't go to a game this year. You're right. The players I've talked to, the people inside the organization I've talked to, everyone loves Melo. I mean, they do. They love him. But, Frank, it's almost like you two guys talked before this because Frank always says, your best player's got to be your leader. He's got to set the standards to create a culture and the work environment. And, we'll see. I mean, listen, I'll just take him being healthy and if this team can stay healthy, then they should at least be fun to watch. And back to the Summer League, that's one of the things that has me excited about the guys that they brought in the draft is because I do feel like they drafted guys who have high motors, who play hard, die for balls, that want to improve. And back to Tijon Salon, because he's the one I'm excited about as well. You can't question his motor. The guy works his butt off. I saw some videos of him the other day as well, where he's definitely put on some muscle, but he's high energy, high motor, wants to get better. So hopefully he does take the next step. And then these guys that they drafted, the 4 rookies that we'll be able to start watching tomorrow night against Utah, can play some basketball. And hopefully, look, I'm sure some of those guys will probably get a lot of time in the G League this year. But they're also going to probably, if the Hornets history goes like it's been going, they use the G League guys, it seems, as much as they do their regular guys. Liam McNeely's a guy that I'm really excited about. I wanted to get your thoughts on him. He was one of the top recruits coming out of high school, goes to UConn, had an ankle injury that kind of nagged him throughout the entire season, didn't shoot the 3 as well as he had in high school and AAU and things of that nature. But he's totally healthy now. And he says his stroke is back. The word out of the Hornets organization from the first practices that they've had is that he's stroking the ball nicely. Got 6'8", 6'9", a scrappy player. I think the Hornets might have got him a steal there at 29.
Yeah, I mean, I had him ranked 18th on my board, so he was a great value to get down there at 29. Yeah, absolutely right. He had that high ankle injury, which he played through. Also, he was forced to play point guard. And coming in, he was like a small forward because of the guard issues that UConn had this year. She ended up playing a lot on the ball, which if you look at shooting splits for this year, he shot 39% on open catch and threes, even 34% on like contested catch and shoot threes. The problem was he was 3 of 18 on all the off the dribble jumpers. So that just pulled his numbers down, which is why he shot, 29% in college.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be solved in the NBA. You know, they're not going to have Lee McNeely play point guard. Now they've signed, 20 point guards this NBA in the offseason.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. I think the biggest thing for me is just about like the defense. Like he's a very skinny guy. He's also not like the most agile and flexible guy getting down in the stance and sliding with people. And there's going to be some mega athletes who are going to be guarding at that 3 and 4 position in the NBA. But like you say, that they love his competitive spirit. I definitely sense he's a little bit more, let's call him a younger soul than Conker-Nipple. Like I hear Conker-Nipple speak. You hear him like and how he plays the game. He's like a 27-year-old rookie. It's ridiculous.
It's like, let's see your account.
McNeely's like, oh, like NBA players are texting me. That's cool. And I'm like, that's great. You are going to have to play against them in a couple of months. Like you need to get over that kind of wow factor. Yeah. So I think it'll take a little bit longer than Con. But I really look for his size. He rebounds the ball really well as well. Like you see that motor showing up on the defensive glass, which I think is something that he'll hang his hat on early in his career as well. But yeah, interested to see. I don't know if he'll start in Summer League. I think that'll be interesting. It might be Sion James, but he's definitely going to get some playing time here.
You know, James, we talk about the competitiveness, and I think that's obviously a good thing. The core of this team is going to be based on a bunch of young players that are competing. And, anytime there's competition, it's a good thing. Who's the guys that you expect to maybe come out of nowhere that, we're maybe not even talking about that could make some noise, could stand out, could bring some value to a team? Because it just seems like the entire roster minus, maybe, a guy like Ball really, and maybe Bridges, those two guys are kind of the established leaders. Everybody else is kind of in the same pot.
Yeah, for me, I think the Trey Mann is a name who's just been re-signed as a free agent. Now, like he's been here technically for a year and a half now. He came by trade in his first year, and we saw a little bit of him. And then last year, I think he played 15 or so games before going down with a back injury for the year. But before those games, I think he was top 5 in 6th man of the year voting and most improved player voting when he went down with an injury. He was closing games. He dropped 27 points on the Houston Rockets, who are basically the best defense in the NBA. I thought it was a real steal that they got him back at the price they did. It was I think it's $6-7 million per year this offseason. I mean, part of that is because of the back injury. But I think he is a guy who could really emerge as one of the best off the bench scorers in the league. And look, he also looks cool as hell as well, right? He has all the 90s AI swag. It's something that just there's something enjoyable visually about watching him play aesthetically. So I think he's a guy who could pop and be like, oh, the Charlotte really have someone here. I think the rest of the guys on the roster, you kind of know what you're getting with Miles Bridges. We definitely know what we're getting with Mason Plumlee. And I'm a little cautious about Brandon Miller this year just because of this wrist injury. He wasn't able to shoot with his right wrist for 6 months. That has an effect on people. And from what I've done, my research, he's the only NBA player ever to have this specific wrist injury in his shooting wrist, which that is key to shooters. And that is a major part of his skill set. So I'm trying to kind of temper expectations a little bit that expecting this year 3 breakout from Brandon Miller. Cause I think especially early, it could just take him a little bit of time to warm up again.
Yeah, Brandon Miller's a guy who, when the Hornets drafted him, I was very excited. I mean, disappointed that we didn't get the number 1 pick, but I was happy that we did get Brandon Miller, and he had a great rookie year. And then obviously last year cut short. But I agree with you. I think it's going to probably take him some time to get back into the flow.
You know what's interesting. You look at you're talking about analytics, and I hear you speak, and I hear your the way you speak is a lot to do with analytics, and I think that's a great way to build teams and rosters. We talked about DJ, the way that teams are being built. It's no longer the traditional center, a point guard, a shooting guard, small forward, power forward. It seems like there's 5 athletes out there that can flat out just be the best athletes. They're all long, they're all tall, they're all athletically defensive. They can all move their feet. Is that more of the team the Hornets are building right now, or is it more of a traditional? Because I just don't understand where Miles Plumlee fits in the new NBA.
I think he's a placeholder for this
Yeah.
season. Like, I'd love to come on here and say I think the Hornets are going to make the playoffs next year. I mean, the moves they've made this offseason, that's not what they're trying to do. I'm just telling people. Like, they've added 4 rookies and they signed Mason Plumlee as their solution at center. That's code for, like, hey, we want to get better and we want to, improve from 19 wins, but we're not, going into free agency chasing Miles Turner and trying to get him to sign in Charlotte. They're trying to rebuild again.
Yeah.
I think actually the Hornets are moving away a little bit from just having all these like ultra long athletes. We remember, James Bouknight, Kai Jones, JT Thor. Like, when you looked at these guys, like in the warm-up lines, they looked incredible. They were huge, long, athletic, could throw down crazy dunks, but they weren't competitive. They didn't have motors. They didn't affect the game. They didn't play with that right level of toughness. And I think this zag the Hornets franchise are doing now is trying to kind of like get rid of that part of the franchise where they drafted them based on this potential all the time. And they didn't get the guys who are wired quite the right way. And I think that's what this Hornets front office is really pushing home is, hey, Con Knippel, he's not going to jump out the gym. Neither's Liam McNeely, right? But they're going to fight for everything. They're going to be unselfish. They're not going to worry about other people having success and them not. I think that's the team, that's the vision that they're really looking for in this Hornets DNA.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the new ownership group and the new coach and the new GM, everything that they brought in last year, watching the season, they had to just get tired of certain players never playing. And I know I harp on it, but
watching a guy with all the potential in the world play half-ass.
Yeah, and they're not playing. So I agree with you. I think they're trying to bring in guys who are going to have heart, who have high basketball IQ, and who they can count on, and so that's what excites me. And a perfect example of that is Sion James, who you brought up a little earlier, the guard out of Duke, who is kind of a do-it-all, looks like a linebacker, looks like he could go play for the Panthers, on Sundays. But he's that kind of guy, I think that, look, he's a very good athlete too. I'm not saying that, but I think all the guys that you saw them draft, and even some of the guys that they signed. Look, Plumlee, you're right. I mean, he is a placeholder, no doubt about it. But he is going to play hard every night, and he is going to show up every night, and he's not going to back down.
Is this the first team in the NBA that's going to be fielded by 5 Duke players at one time?
Man, I don't know. And I don't
Grayson Allen's on the trade block. They could go get him.
Yeah,
there you go.
My God. And Frank and I are both Duke fans, and we're still saying, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Let me ask you about another guy who's going to get a lot of playing time in Summer League, who I liked him a lot in college. I thought he showed some flashes last year in the G League and when they called him up. KJ Simpson, the second-round pick out of Colorado last year. Just listening to him talk in the interviews over the past couple weeks, he, to me, sounds like a leader. The things he's saying about showing these young guys, even though he's only a year older, showing these young guys the way, being through a summer camp already, giving them an idea of what to expect. And the fact that not only KJ, but the other guys, as well as the coaching staff, have made no secret about the fact that they want to win the Summer League. This isn't just going there to get practice. They've been on record as saying, we want to win the thing. We're going there to win it, which would be huge for a young organization with a lot of young players.
Absolutely. And it's a stark change from how it was treated. I remember Kai Jones came out in his first Summer League game, took 10 threes, missed all of them. And it's like, that's code for you. You're here trying to work on your game. You're not here trying to win. And like, that's just sends a message. So it was a stark difference last year. I think they went 5-1 in Vegas in their Summer League games. I think they'll probably be a little worse this year just because they're younger, 4 rookies. But absolutely, they're going in with that mentality, and that's what they're adding. KJ Simpson, he had a really mixed year last year. Like, he had a hamstring injury that kept him out of most of the draft process, out of Summer League. He only just started going live basically as the season started. He also had a really scary thing where he really injured Jalen Wells accidentally during the season. And he was speaking this offseason. That really messed with him a little bit, for a good period in that season. So it was a really stop-start year for him. He didn't play as well as he wanted. But it's a big, big summer for him. There's a lot of guards ahead of him now, right? Trey Mann, LaMelo Ball, Colin Sexton, Spencer Dinwiddie. He needs to come in and have a good summer. He's on the last year of his 2-way contract. But he's got an opportunity here. He was really good in the G League. Like, not a lot of people will watch Greensboro, and I know a lot of players look good in the G League. But he generally did play well, and he had a stretch later in the season where you kind of saw, okay, here's the vision. And he's talked about that TJ McConnell type. Come in, change the game with your pace, change the game with your defensive urgency. He's undersized. He's going to have to shoot the ball, in my opinion. for him to like really make it at his size. And he's got a chance of doing that, but only was able to really kind of shoot the ball at a good level once in college. So massive opportunity for him. A lot of young guys around him. But yeah, after T-John, I'd probably say KJ, like individually being on a last year of his deal, probably is like the biggest summer for any single player in terms of who has the most riding on this Hornets Summer League. It's probably KJ Simpson.
Yeah, I agree. Let me ask you another thing before we let you go too. There's been speculation that the Hornets aren't done yet, and there's been rumors that they're going to trade for a center, whether it be Claxton or there's been many they've been tied to. And I do agree with you. I don't think the Hornets are in any rush to make the playoffs this year. I think they would be elated if they did, but I don't think they're putting that in front of building the team the correct way. And they have a ton of draft assets that they've been great at gathering over the last few years, first rounds and second round picks. So they have that at their benefit. Good young players. They've got some veterans. So if they get to the point, near the trade deadline and they're not in the playoff run, you could see them get rid of a Sexton or a Dinwiddie or somebody like that, Melo possibly even, depending on what happens. So I do agree with you. I think they're in no rush. I think they're probably just fine being in the lottery next year unless something magical happens with this team of young players. Do you think they make a trade for a center before the season starts, or do you think they just kind of let this play out? And look, we hadn't talked about Cockbrenner, the rookie center out of Creighton, who I'm also excited to watch play. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Only other guy to do that was Patrick Ewing. He's definitely expanded his jump shot to where he can knock down a three. Obviously, he's got a ways to go on that. But do you think they make a trade for a center? Or do you think they ride with what they have?
Yeah, just quickly on Kalkbrenner, I know everybody's going to be watching for the 3-point shot because it's like cool when a 7'2" guy who blocks shots can shoot. For me, the rebounding is the biggest thing. Like he's not rebounded the ball at great level as an older player. If he can't rebound the ball as a center in the NBA, that's a concern. So for me, that's the thing to watch in Summer League, not the 3-point percentage like some will. Do I think they'll make a trade for a center? No. I think they'll make trades. They have to because they have, 18, 19 players right now, and they have to trim it down to 15. But if they make trades, I think they'll be kind of, dumping players into trade exceptions into space, like where they basically don't get a player back. I think that's the route they're going to go down here. I think they'll probably be pretty set with Plumlee, Salon. They might add a two-way guy as well. Kalkbrenner. I think they're probably going to go in with that as maybe a little bit of kind of like artificial ceiling limiting on this team, but hey, we could still be an exciting young team. We just can't grab a rebound. That's something you can probably fix next offseason if you want to. So, I'm not ruling it out, but I don't expect to. I think they've got 3 centers who all bring something a little bit different. If T-John has put on weight, maybe he can play some small ball 5. That could be interesting. Grant Williams can, if and when he's back this year. So I think they're probably going to go with what they have right now, just because the roster crunch is a real issue for them. If they add another guy at center, then I don't know who they're getting rid of, but there's going to be some names. Nick Smith Jr., Daquan Jeffries, Josh Green might be a name to watch here in the trade market, who might be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I thought he might have been traded during the draft, if not for the injury that he had. I think that maybe messed up some plans. James, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and everywhere else.
Yeah, you can find me at British_Buzz on X. You can also find me on Blue Sky in there as well. You can also go subscribe to my work and our group's work over at the BuzzBeat Substack as well. We cover all things Hornets, podcasts, articles, everything on there. But thanks a lot for having me on. Enjoyed it.
No, thank you. And before we let you go, I was telling Frank earlier how you live in Manchester and how you were at Wimbledon the other day. I saw on social media. Give us Americans over here that have I've never been to Europe in my life. I don't know if you have, Frank, but give us a little taste of what Wimbledon feels like, because not huge tennis fan. When we were younger, we were talking about how we would watch tennis all the time. Don't watch it as much now, but when Wimbledon's on, I will stop and watch, right? It's just the historic place. Give us a little idea about, what's great about Wimbledon minus the tennis. Like, is it a certain drink? Is it a certain food? Give us a little of the atmosphere.
Well, if you want a tenuous Hornets Wimbledon link as well, Ben Shelton, his girlfriend is Trinity Rodman, her brother is on the Hornets Summer League team, and DJ Rodman.
Oh, DJ Rodman. Okay.
There is your tenuous link to Wimbledon.
Wow.
What's it like? Look, for me, it's the UK's version of the Masters. Like, it's pristine. Everyone is incredibly polite, even for British people. The British charm is off the scales. They don't speak like me. They speak a lot nicer than me. Like everything's like perfect. There's not a lot of advertising. It feels very authentic, which I think a lot of people like. It's expensive. You buy a hat in the Wimbledon shop, it's £120, about $140, $150 for a hat.
What?
If you ever go, you can buy one on the street outside for 20 quid before you go in. So that's my tip to anyone going to Wimbledon.
Wow.
But yeah, it's great. Everyone has so much respect for all the players and the fans. Like, it's a really respectful sports fan. There's no booing. You just love kind of seeing that side.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the food like? Strawberries and cream. Here you go. £2.20 for strawberries and cream. The price changed this year for the first time in 15 years. It was £2 for the last 15 years.
Wow.
Over the course of 2 weeks at Wimbledon, they sell the equivalent weight of 10 African elephants of strawberries and cream.
Really? Wow.
Strawberries and the cream.
So even their prices when it comes to food, they kind of do it like the Masters, where they keep everything kind of affordable and cheap and not. How much is a beer? Like, how much is a beer or a mixed drink?
Yeah, strawberries and cream is definitely the outlier. Everything else is as expensive as you think at a fancy sporting event. You know, you're paying like £8 for a beer, or it's probably like $9 or $10 and stuff like that. Yeah. So the rest of the food's expensive, but at least they've kept the traditional thing a little bit cheaper.
That's awesome. Well, James, hey, thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to having you on again before the season starts and then during the season. You do a great job. And thanks for getting back to me when I reached out. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
James.